Okay, hi everyone. Hi mom. And today I'm gonna share my reaction to what I learned about the different types of communication from our GEPC. But before I proceed, let me introduce first my name. I am Marchison G. De Los Reyes from the program of PSBA FM and coming from Lapishaina, Misamis Occidental. Before diving in, I never realized just how layered and intentional communication really is. It is so much more than just talking or writing. So let's discuss the types of communication by mode. When I read about communication modes, the first thing that stood out to me is how verbal and nonverbal communication is almost always work together. For example, when talking to my classmates in person, my tone of voice and that is verbal, and my hand gestures or facial expression and that is nonverbal. Meaning to say it send the full message. I also found visual communication really relevant, especially that we often use infographics or short videos for group projects. It makes sense why getting a message across clearly without visuals alone with visuals alone can be tricky. Alright, as you can see here, it talks about the true mode of communication, meaning it pertains to the exact way by which a communication is expressed or the way communication is processed. It also talks about the different ways to communicate, such as speech, body language, facial expressions, and other physical gestures and movements. From these types of communication alone, we can see the difference, we can see the importance to know the different ways of communication. So let's dive into the second topic, the communication by context. Context-based types hit close to home. Intrapersonal communication. Basically, it talking to yourself. It's like something I do all the time, like when I'm planning my day or solving a problem for class and in my everyday dilemmas. Then for organs another way is for organizational communication. I think about how our group leaders share instructions, that is downward communication, and how we give feedback on project plans, that is what we call upward communication. Another example also here is the teacher or instructors and its students. Then an intercultural communication is so important here in the Philippines, where we have diverse languages and cultures. It's a good reminder to be an extra mindful of how people might interpret messages differently. So in this type of communication, it clearly gives us the idea of what is the real context of that certain communication. And according to the module, um, context is very important because it gives meaning to the communication. From work setting to family life, most people participate in a lot of communication every day. It is what tells the listener how urgent or important the message is. So without good context, the meaning of the message is miscommunicated, which means that no one involved in the communication accomplished what they needed. So I guess this type of communication really make up my part as a good communicator, to need to rigorously think about the context, just like thinking before you speak. And the third and last section of types of communication, the communication by purpose and style. So formal versus informal communication is something I use daily without even noticing. When I write an email to our professor or present a report, I switch to formal language and structure. But when I'm texting friends or chatting with family, it's all casual and relaxed. What surprised me is that even informal communication has a clear purpose. It is like building and keeping relationships strong. So overall, learning about these types has made me more aware of how I communicate I realize I sometimes mix up formal and informal styles in the wrong situation, like using too casual language in a class proposal or etc. Moving forward, I'll be more intentional about matching my communication mode, context style, and purpose to make sure my message gets across well. So, to sum up, understanding these communication types isn't just for school, but it's a skill we'll use in everyday part of our lives. So, that's all my reaction about the topic. Thank you for watching, and I hope this gives you a better look at how communication shapes our interactions every single day. God bless.